One of my favorite things to tell people is stress is not a noun. I know it's used in literature. I know it's used in English language. I know it's used in studies as a noun, but it is not. That's incorrect. Stress is a verb. Definition: it's the action you take or decision you make based upon life's expected or unexpected occurrences. Meaning, if it's an action you take, that means you have control over it. Case in point, simple example, you're in New York City there, you get into that traffic jam, you're not going anywhere. You're late for a meeting. You can't hit your steering wheel or yell out enough to make those cars move faster. You can't honk your horn enough to make those cars move quicker and get out of your way. You're stuck. That becomes then the stimulus. It is not the stress, or it's the stimulus to the stress response. Because our decision at that point in the car is to get angry, or maybe we can decide that's a time we're supposed to just be quiet and just listen to the sound of silence. With that said, part of our teaching is always around the quietness. I tell people to take 10 minutes a day just to be quiet. And of the 1,440 minutes we get per day, I believe that you're worth 10 minutes and your mental sanity is worth 10 minutes. So the idea is to live peacefully with, yourself. Because if you're not peaceful with self, there's no way you can be peaceful with others or any clients you have.
Welcome to another episode of the Health Coach Academy podcast. I'm your host, Omar Cumberbatch of OmarCumberbatch.com. Thanks so much for joining in. As always, we have a really phenomenal guest today. His name is Dr. Mark Sherwood. And we're definitely going to have another part to this because Mark had so many different things that I wanted to talk to him about. And obviously, because of the time constraints, we can only really touch on one topic, which is basically biohacking, right? And I know that this is a field that health coaches are really excited about. Everybody's excited about it, honestly. I mean, anything that's in with longevity and all these new technologies and life hacks or biohacks are really, really popular nowadays. So I wanted to share that part of it with health coaches out there because that might be an audience that you want to tap into for sure. But also, I didn't get an opportunity to really dive deep into Dr. Mark's extensive business acumen, and he really is killing it. So I definitely going to have a part two, but I definitely want to introduce him to you guys, and I know that you're going to love him. As always, please leave a rating and review on iTunes. That is how I am able to get such awesome guests like Dr. Mark. So let's jump into the show. Hey, Dr. Mark, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Omar, thanks for having me, man. I'm doing well. It's good to see you.
Oh, good to see you too. My pleasure. Really excited about this show for a variety of reasons. I know that you can help us in so many different avenues. I mean, you have a successful business, you're an author. I mean, what you're focusing now on in your career is something that's so hot in the market. I know a lot of health coaches are exposed to it, but if they're not, I'm happy that you're here to help expose them to it. And yeah, now really excited to touch base. So I definitely want to get into your origin story because I
Yep.
know that you have like a great one and really just kind of just get to know you a little better before we dive into these questions.
Well, you're right. My story is a little bit different, to say the least. I've worn a lot of hats in my day. Prior to becoming a naturopathic doctor, I was actually a professional baseball player, and I played in Australia. Wasn't good enough to make it quite all the way, but I gave it my best. And then I became a police officer in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where I served for 24 years, 10 years of which was on the SWAT team. And my last several years of that, I was transferred to the police academy to work in training, recruitment, and even development of our wellness program, which didn't exist at that time. So I was tasked with constructing that thing, and so that really got me started, Omar, on the pathway towards where I'm at right now. It's not really a reach to say I went from police officer to naturopathic doctor because my job then and now is still to protect and serve. It's the same, right? It's just a different, uh, perhaps context and a different reach. But there was one statistic that shocked me, that got me really solidified in where I'm going was the stat that police officers, 20-year veteran male police officers specifically, live to an average of 66 years of age upon retirement. And I thought that is terrible because you work all that hard to serve the public and yet you don't get to enjoy it on the backside. And I did indeed watch people retire and die. I had a friend that died just recently, just yesterday or day before. And it continues to be this domino effect. And it really bothered me at that time. That was a 50-year-old stat at that time, but I recently looked again and it's the same. So nothing's changed. So in that note and in that vein, I began to study on what was creating that process of early death or increased sick span, decreased longevity, which got me into the idea of stress and nutrition. And they were on a lot of medications, blood pressure, blood sugar, sleep, depression, meds. And so that I just thought, you know what, this whole issue of what I just laid out is really happening across our country and across our world. So I want to figure out how to do a better job at coaching, teaching, training those type of people, and then all types of people how to have the best and most abundant life.
Hmm. Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting to hear that because I know that statistically, yes, even for police officers, 66 obviously is below what the national average actually is.
Yep.
But the national average isn't that great to begin with. And I'm gonna butcher it. I should have been more prepared because we had a individual on the show who talked about life expectancy and there's another term, and I'm sure you're gonna know it right off the top. Not that you're just alive, but you're actually doing well during those times. So you might live to 85,
Yep.
but from 75 to 85 is not what you would consider ideal at all. Many people are in homes, many people are just not doing well, and then immobile, etc. Is that what I forgot what the term was? Do you call that off the top of your head?
Yeah, well, I would call it increasing health span versus decreasing sick span.
Okay.
Longevity can be classified, as a time of life, but again, as you noted and described, if we're not having life within life or life in the years, we don't have years of life to really have the quality of life we want to. And I think the idea of mortality is not the story; it's really the morbidities that go with it. All that sickness stuff, that sick span, I detest, quite frankly, and I want to see it change. I'll just use my hands analogy, the inverse bell curve, that comes up, we live and then we have that slow decline to where
Hmm.
the last 10 years is miserable. I don't really think that that's got to be the case. I know it's expected, but we need to change our expectations to really what we want to see happen, which really should happen, which should be our expectations, which is we're born, we live, and then we change addresses. I mean, however we want to phrase that, but
Yeah.
it needs to be a short sick span and a long life of health span.
Right, right. And one of the things I know we're going to kind of go in and out of the business aspect of it. I know that obviously this topic is very near and dear to my heart because I am getting older, right? And that's
Yeah.
one of the things. And so it's like that as we category, the niche is a very popular niche. A lot of health coaches who might be interested, might we want to get involved in this and take this on their course. But one of the fascinating things as I've been diving into this is that this isn't just relevant for people who are aging. If anything, we should be promoting as you're younger, start
Yeah.
to adopt some of these habits, as we're getting older. So they're just habits, and then we just continue it throughout our life. So I guess, am I accurate with that first? And then, what are those things that you usually address, especially as we're aging, that you think is relevant, like nutrition, stress, etc.?
Well, certainly it should be taught to younger people because the more they can get a hold of this message, mission, purpose, opportunity, I guess I'll say all those things encompassing, um, you're talking about a massive return on your investment. You're talking about what you invest at that time will save you an immense amount of money and emotional wear and tear and physical wear and tear later. For example, we all know it is much more reasonable and less expensive to live healthy as compared and opposed to living sick. So if the younger people get a hold of this right now, outstanding. For the health coaches out there, always think, teach downhill. Teach downhill, teach out in the future. If you can do that and leave a legacy behind in this area, that's really a good thing to do. With that said, with every and I've worked with a lot of health coaches over my life, and I appreciate and honor that particular position. I think it's incredibly important. And I think probably my wife and I lean more in the area of coaching, teaching. So we really relate. There's three things that people need to master. Number one is we need to eat with the concept of fueling our body as opposed to, you know, taking away fuel from our body. Fuel or inflammation is the question. Health or heat or healing or harm is the question with food. Do we eat real food or not? I think that's a key thing because the body lives off of nutrients as opposed to calories. And we've got that backwards over the course of time. So it's really about eating high nutrition dense foods. Eat when you're hungry, don't when you're not. Consider compressed meal eatings, consider elongated intermittent fast. Those are all helpful as well. The second area would be movement. Movement is life. The more you move, the more you live. The less you move, the more you die. You know, Movement is opposite of rigor mortis. So again, keep that in mind. So every day that you get up, you should be exercising. The only day you don't exercise, I've always said, is the day you're dead because movement needs to happen. Our legs are meant to do more than hang over a chair, and our arms are meant to do more than put a fork curl, as I like to say, in the mouth,
Yeah.
right? And so we need to really, consider moving with the intentionality of life. And then the third area, as you alluded to, is stress. We have got to master the stress response. And one of my favorite things to tell people is stress is not a noun. I know it's used in literature, I know it's used in English language, I know it's used in studies as a noun, but it is not. That's incorrect. Stress is a verb. Definition: it's the action you take or decision you make based upon life's expected or unexpected occurrences. Meaning, if it's an action you take, that means you have control over it. Case in point, simple example, you're in New York City there, you get into that traffic jam, you're not going anywhere. You're late for a meeting. You can't hit your steering wheel or yell out enough to make those cars move faster. You can't honk your horn enough to make those cars move quicker and get out of your way. You're stuck.
Hmm.
That becomes then the stimulus. It is not the stress, or it's the stimulus to the stress response. Because our decision at that point in the car is to get angry, or maybe we could decide that that's a time we're supposed to just be quiet and
Hmm.
just listen to the sound of silence. With that said, part of our teaching is always around the quietness. I tell people to take 10 minutes a day just to be quiet. And of the 1,440 minutes we get per day, I believe that you're worth 10 minutes and your mental sanity is worth 10 minutes. So the idea is to, live peacefully with,
Hmm.
yourself. Because if you're not peaceful with self, there's no way you can be peaceful with others or any clients you have.
No, no, absolutely makes sense. And those are like three really foundational principles that make a lot of sense, and you can see how it could carry, the
Yeah.
entirety of your life. One of the things that I think is fascinating about, your field of research that I think entices a lot of people, and obviously I don't think that you came up with it because there's also a marketing aspect to longevity and what they threw in was the word biohacking. And I think we
Yeah.
naturally gravitate to that word because we like we like to take a pill or something or an
Yeah.
injection and everything is fine afterwards, right? I know that's not really what the idea behind biohacking necessarily is, and but it's enticing. I think we got to have it's synonymous with something like that. So can you talk about biohacking overall and like why is it such a big thing right now, and people are looking into to taking advantage of all the different biohacks that exist out today?
Yeah, I think I'll answer that question with the answer to the last question first, because I think it's important today because as people are aging, um, we are really thinking about more the death process. We don't want that to be long. We don't want it to be painful and drawn out. And I think the second part of it is with the current climate culture within this country and even around the world, there's more talk today about health and health aspects and what we can do right, what we can do better, what we've done wrong than really any time in my lifetime. So, with that said, it's been interesting over the course of time. My wife and I have been referred to as the original biohackers. And I think that's probably a generally fair statement because we were doing this stuff way before it was even referred to as biohacking. Along that line, I can say this that we are the first biohackologists because we did come up with that term. We did trademark that term, and that's who we are. And biohacking, really, for all of us, for a definition, would be taking everything you know about anatomy, biology, physiology, pathophysiology, um, common sense, nutrition, exercise, sleep, stress management, emotional principles, spiritual principles, all lifestyle principles, and really putting that all together in a pot to try to determine on a personalized basis how we and can teach others as well how to live better and younger, older. And I believe that's just a kind of nice way to put that. Our mission is to teach people how to live younger, older, but also as die as young, as old as possible. And when you think about it like that, it really does really explain what it is. And then the last thing to tie it together with the story, if you will, we all remember those video games way back when, where there were people that could figure out the quote unquote hack to be able to win the game or to get to the top level of the game. And this is no different. We're just trying to understand the human body and its magnificence and awesomeness on how it works so that we can do what we need to do, give the body what it needs to be given, and then understand this every day in the response therein.
Hmm. So if you basically the three principles that you shared earlier, those are assuming those are the foundational
Mhm.
principles. I'm always fascinated with the diet aspect of
Yeah.
it. Is there anything like a specific type of eating style, or they say obviously it's a diet. Some people that word is being frowned upon
Yeah, it
lately.
is. Yeah.
A way of eating that you would recommend that an individual start taking so that they can live longer and healthier. And I know that you mentioned the nutrients versus calories, which I'm very excited about that because calories is such a I don't even know why we even mention that at this point anymore, but
Mm.
it's changing and your reason why. So is there anything that you would say that it would be a proper eating style?
Yeah, I would. I think with you, and I agree, the concept of diet has been really played around so much, it's become a negative thing. And to really make that point home, you take the T off of the word diet, what do you have left? You have die. And
Yep.
really, and diet doesn't work because, Omar, it really focuses on what I believe the opposite you need to focus on. That is deprivation, what you should not do. And so all your focus goes on what you should avoid and what you should not do. We tend to take it on the other side of the coin. I like to focus on abundance and like to tell people, here's your list of foods, as an example, and I don't care how much you eat. Have as much as you want.
Hmm.
Be free. Don't be in bondage. Don't be in food prison. Be free. When you're hungry, eat. When you're not, don't. The voice inside you that tells you to eat is a natural voice telling you you need nutrients. So that's overall general 30,000 foot view principle. Then we get right down to it. There are genetics involved. There are people that are from a northern hemisphere descent that really tend to do better on a lower carbohydrate type of diet, a higher fat content, good fat. And there are people from the lower hemisphere that tend to operate not so well on that kind of diet, but more of a plant-based kind of concept. But in both contexts, both of them, it is important to eat real food. And in both of them, even overriding, it's important to eat real food. And real food is the way it's packaged, the way it's produced, the way it's processed in nature.
Hmm.
And I always use this story to make that point firm. If you can't imagine the food that you're about to eat in what you're seeing on your plate in the Garden of Eden, growing from a tree, from the ground,
Hmm.
below the ground, swimming in the creek, the river, walking through the forest,
Hmm.
it was not and will never be food. It is not food as information. That becomes substance as inflammation. And so that's really key to understand. So with diet, a lot of people ask the question, do I need to eat small, frequent meals every day? Or do I need to have one or two meals and compress them? It could be either or both.
Hmm.
You could do that from day to day. And I like people to have freedom with that. And just to make your point clear, and I agree with you again, that we need to eat high nutrient dense foods. And a lot of times we get screwed up in really weird ways with this idea of calories, looking at labels, and that just doesn't work. I encourage people listening here today to forget the concept of calories because that is a disproven false science at this point.
Right.
So I know we have to have measurements on labels. I understand the FDA processes and all that for food labeling, but that doesn't make it accurate. So food, but then with that, Omar, there's also supplementation because our food supply does not have the density of nutrients it once did. And that can vary around the parts of the country, vary within fields of crops, all that stuff. So really have to think about proper supplementation as well. And with that said, I look at supplementation as just augmenting, offsetting a food supply to make it complete nutrition. That's all I look at.
Hmm. No, I'm glad that you said that. And it's like you said that the FDA, basically makes you have a label. But when you go back to your original principle, if it followed what you said about how in the Garden of Eden, most of those things in those packages wouldn't have
Mm.
a, you don't need a label. They're on
No,
the outside of the supermarket, and you got your produce and nothing. None of those have labels, right? Like they're just abundant, and like you said, they don't really categorize how many calories are. You only get packaging in the middle. So, and those
yeah,
are like, every health coach knows that you probably should be telling your clients to avoid the middle of that supermarket because that's
yes.
where the garbage is. So,
Yeah, it's funny. We wrote a book several years ago. It's still out there. It's called Surviving the Garden of Eden.
mhm.
And with that said, on the cover, it had a picture of a tree with a donut hanging off. And, we got ridiculed for that. But honestly, it was trying to prove a point.
Yeah.
We have got so stressed out where we live life with a very reactionary, automated, autopilot concept. We don't think about what we're doing from moment to moment, day to day, from the now to now,
Hmm.
as I like to say. And we make really bonehead decisions about that every day, thinking it doesn't matter. But every time you put um, this inflammatory substance in your body, it does take away from your ability to defend yourself right now and into the future from an immune system standpoint.
Hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. So, obviously, I'm into this. I have a lot of interesting things that I see as far as the biohacking realm. What is the big trend now? I know that there's a lot that has happened over the last year. I'm just curious to see what do you see on the horizon? What's really hot right now that you're saying, hey, you know what? This isn't a fad. This is something that if you have an opportunity to partake in any of these biohacks, jump on them. Any suggestions for us?
Yeah, there's a lot of things out there now, including stem cells and all of that stuff. But again, those will get cheaper over time. Right now, they're kind of exclusive to people that have a lot of wealth. But with that said, or access to those things, I should say as well. With that said, there's a lot of things that people can do
Hmm.
that's more reasonable, let's say, and even do in your own home. So I like to think, give some people some tips about how you can biohack your home, because I think that's a good way to look at it, right? So in our home, I'm in my home office right now. Um, it's taken us time to accumulate these pieces, but you can do this. We have an infrared sauna.
Okay.
An infrared sauna is easy to do. It's right in your home. Ours is in our master bedroom, and I push the button. I let that thing heat up for about 30 minutes, and I'll get in the infrared sauna most evenings for 20, 25 minutes at a temperature of about 130 to 140 degrees.
Okay.
And infrared, it's infrared, medium, and far. And then at that time, I do this next. I typically get in the shower and I do my version of a cold plunge, which is 2 minutes of a cold shower immediately.
Hmm.
Now, is it painful? Yeah. But does it work? Yes. Both of these therapies activate the extreme resilience components of the body, something called heat shock proteins. Ironically, they're activated indirectly in the cold shower as well as the hot sauna. They are kicked in and they protect your proteins from damage in extreme times. So you're
Hmm.
talking about increasing resiliency, perhaps increasing health span, and perhaps increasing longevity. I also got a power plate of those high oscillating vibration plates with the handles on it. And you're talking about 9 to 10 minutes a day to activate the proprioceptive muscles. You can get a lot of muscle building in that, a lot of blood flow, a lot of increase of nitric oxide production, which helps your circulation processes, and even get an injury prevention standpoint as you age because it's easy to do, and you don't need to leave your home. Um, those are two things I find outstanding. The third one I think I'll mention is molecular hydrogen. A lot of people don't know about that at this point, but it's kind of on the edge out there. It's coming. When you consume molecular hydrogen infused water, which I have a machine here, I've got portable ones that I get to people. The hydrogen comes into the body, it crosses into all mitochondria. So it goes right past the cell wall, right past the mitochondrial membrane, and right into mitochondria because of its size. In all mitochondria in all your body, you can drink it and also have a machine where I can breathe straight H2 gas.
Hmm.
So breathing straight to H2 gas for 30 minutes or so, and or drinking the water all day, both, they actually cause the hydrogen to go into those locations and minimize free radical buildup. Boom, it turns them right into water. So you have something that brings about death in buildup, turning it into water, which brings life in buildup. So you're talking about three little biohacks there that every single person can do in their home. It takes a while to accumulate those things, but you can. And I think the cheapest one of all is probably the hydrogen.
Really? Yeah. No, I had a person on the show who was into hydrogen water and a couple of machines, like you said, that actually created the hydrogen water. I'm gonna
Mm,
revisit that too, included in the show notes as well, because yeah, that was an interesting topic. I found that fascinating.
mm.
And like you said, the good thing about a lot of these things is the pricing is going down. I see like these saunas that are
Yeah.
a lot cheaper for, I would just say from the last year,
Yes.
which is interesting too. But cool, very cool, very cool. Okay, so we got those three things. That's in the home. I'm trying to think of stuff that I've seen on Instagram because
Yeah, good place to shop, right?
there's always something out there, and I'm trying to think of the latest thing that I've seen. It escapes me right now. Anything on the horizon as far as you've seen outside of the home hacks?
Yeah, I believe probably from the standpoint, excuse me, of oral peptides. I think the
Okay.
peptide market is absolutely at a loud decibel level now. A lot of people can get peptides, whether injectable or oral, and you can do them right in your home. Peptides, generally speaking, are very harmless, and the upside is tremendous, meaning there's not much negative that could happen from them because there's nothing more or less than strings of your natural amino acids. Now, they're constructed in a lab, no doubt, but they're actually healthy for your body. And so these things are on the edge out there, and you're going to see that level of noise come up with that quite a bit over the course of time, without question. Another thing that's out there too that's fascinating right now is vagus nerve stimulators, little
Yeah.
devices that actually hit on your vagus nerve. I have one in my home. I don't mind saying it. It's called a Hoolest, Hoolest Pro. It's got headphones where I can listen to music, but it's got these little attachments that come down with these electrical probes that hit on my vagus nerve. And actually, they can destimulate a stress system. They can cause you to go from sympathetic to parasympathetic so they can help you sleep. And it does work because I measure my sleep with my ultra human ring. And so much similar to the Aura ring.
Hmm.
And I see that improve. And also, if you do it in the morning or during the daytime, you can turn up the tempo on it. And really, it can stimulate the brain to be more acute in its ability to perceive, remember, pull data from the past. So, those are two really cool tools and concepts that are out there right now.
That device expensive? What's the deal with that?
No, there's two little ones you can get. There's a little portable one that you can just hold up on one nerve at a time,
Mm.
either hand, and it's probably $150, $200, something like that. And the rechargeable, it comes with some little probes on it, and it's not expensive at all. The one with the headphones is a little more pricey because it's got the headphones on it, so you can listen to music if you want to, or you could even listen to the podcast again on the headphones while you're listening to get your vagus nerve stimulated.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
that thing's probably about $400.
Okay. Yeah, listen, yeah, that's not surprising. I mean, that's kind of
Mm,
like for what it does, that's amazing. That cost is not
yes.
very prohibitive at all. So like in one day, and then again, like I'm just curious time frame because it sounds like you're not spending too much time in the biohacking realm, and I guess that's the point, right? You know, you're
Yeah.
trying to biohack it. It is like you said, a cheat code to this game, and it's not as difficult as people would imagine.
Yes, it's like sometimes in our imagination, we believe that, doing what you need to be doing and all these things and more to be healthy means you're going to be spending 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 hours a day in labs somewhere with a bunch of blood work and infusions,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
getting
yeah.
therapeutic plasma exchange, and IVs and all that. But the answer is really quite the opposite. It's looking at your life, looking at time and managing it well by utilizing the tools that God gave us, the tools that we can achieve in that 1,440 minutes to create this consistency of life, which contains peace, which contains this idea of predictability and disciplines. And it's really about doing more and being more efficient. And to me, biohacking is creating an efficiency, Omar, in the human body that creates a peace. If you go down from the physical level to the emotional and spiritual level, I mean, it does create peace to know that you're doing good things
Hmm.
that do have foundational, scientific, common sense validity to them to create more balance and more health in the body. That just tells you from even a business perspective, you're going to make better decisions. You're going to budget your time better. You're going to be able to discern who you should do business with, maybe who you shouldn't. And you're going to have a better ability to think about not just today, but also tomorrow. And you're going to be able to live out the concept that I like to really highlight is living today like it's your last, living today like you live forever. And if
Hmm.
you can think about that in both of those dimensions, it does give you a little bit more balanced perspective, I suppose.
No, absolutely. Listen, Dr. Mark, you've been fantastic today. I think we need a part two.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, like I said, I respect your time, and I know that we keep these about 30 to 40 minutes, and we just blew
Yeah.
through it really quick with some awesome information that just is a testament to you as a guest. So I do want you to get an opportunity because you told me some great stuff off the air that you do have an upcoming book, an upcoming course. I do want to share that with the audience. So if you can do that and just let us know about that as well as your social media handles, your website. How can we keep up with what the great stuff that you're doing? I really would appreciate that. And I know not everybody's going to be looking at, watching the video of this. But if you hear the audio and I was going to describe you, you look great. So whatever you're doing is working. So if anybody gets the opportunity to just see him and his wife do their thing, I really recommend that as well because I know that's an awesome selling point for all the stuff that you're talking about today too.
Well, Omar, thank you from the bottom of my heart for having me on behalf of my wife and I. We're really honored to be with you and certainly appreciate the opportunity today and love to come back whenever you feel the need or the desire. People can reach us. I'll just give you my own personal website. It's drmarksherwood.com. Super easy. DrMarkSherwood. And all kinds of resources are there. You can go down, there's a free ebook. It's called Hope, Health, and Freedom. Just download that thing and take it. It's about 25 pages. It's really good. It talks about all the stuff we talked about today and more. And then upcoming, I suppose, like we talked about, I was telling you offline, we have our newest book, which should be out in the April timeframe of 2026. It's done. We're just waiting on the official release process, but it's called Authentic Longevity and how to live longer the Sherwood way. There you go. Something like that. I think the subtitle. And with that said, at the same time, we're going to roll out our course. It's called Certified Authentic Longevity Educator, and it's something that I'm very passionate about. The course is meant to give people the material, the tools, the information, the inspiration to spread the word of longevity and health. Because, look, I can't touch everybody, nor can you. But with all of us together, we can always reach that one more person, which equates to reaching and changing the world.
Oh, amen. I totally agree. Especially, where we live in this particular country, we have an uphill battle, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, the more that we have that word spread out, obviously the more that we can make an impact. So, listen, Doc, really appreciate you. Great nuggets today. Thanks for getting up so early with me.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
that. And yeah, have a great rest of the day.
All right, man. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Hope you enjoyed listening to today's episode of the Health Coach Academy podcast. If you did, jump over to iTunes and leave a rating and or review. It goes a long way in helping get this message out to our fellow health coaches and people in our industry. Also, if you can, jump over to my website, omarcumberbatch.com, where I give out a lot of freebies, including my 5-day sugar challenge for people who are having issues with sugar. And also for health coaches, I have the book, Hidden. It's the 6 not so obvious ways to get your clients unstuck. Have a great day.